Well, this is very interesting. Marjorie Taylor Greene, radical and repugnant reactionary Republican Congresswoman from Georgia. Marjorie is turning her a sort of flamethrower on other MAGA figures. And some of those MAGA figures are inside of Donald Trump's inner circle. And when I say turning the flamethrower on them, she's really going for the jugular here. Marjorie Taylor Greene was talking about Laura Loomer. Laura Loomer, a woman. I'm trying to figure out like what characteristics I can reliably tell you about her. A radical extremist woman who seems to have sort of ingratiated herself into Donald Trump's inner circle. And Marjorie Taylor Greene doesn't like it and says these are just not the types of people you should have near the president of the United States. Take a listen, and this is part of a sort of growing turn from Marjorie Taylor Greene against MAGA establishment. But my opinion is that this is really about something else. I'll tell you what in a moment.
It's shocking. These are not the kind of people that should have the president's ear. They're dangerous, especially when they're calling for nuclear bombs to be dropped and America's military and sanctions and all type of government action. But yet these are people that could never win an election themselves. Laura Loomer, she lost 2 congressional races. Mark Levin wouldn't dare run because he would likely lose. And so it's really interesting to see these people just use basically their platforms as a bully puppet and just go.
By the way, oh God, it's a bully pulpit. She called it a bully puppet. We have so much else to talk about. I'm not going to get hung up on that.
Straight to name calling and lying about the people that they seem to be the enemy at the moment.
So here's the important thing to understand. In a sense, Marjorie Taylor Greene is right. Marjorie Taylor Greene is not the person who should have the president's ear, but Laura Loomer shouldn't have the president's ear, and Fox News host Mark Levin shouldn't have the president's ear. None of them should have the president's ear. But this is classic cult dynamics. This cult leaders and grifters don't just attract loyal followers. They often attract other grifters. And the whole MAGA ecosystem is basically a magnet for opportunists who either see cash flow or fame or adjacency to power. And they think, hey, I can get in on this. Let me get in on this thing as well. They obviously don't want others being in those positions. But when you pack enough of them into the same room, right? You throw Elon in there and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Mark Levin and all these people. You pack enough of them into a room. It's only a matter of time before they start fighting with each other. Who's the real voice of this movement? Who really is advising Trump in the best way? And this is where it starts to get maybe arguably more interesting. I don't know if you're familiar with this horseshoe theory of politics. The idea is that when you get to the extremes of the political spectrum, people start looking a lot like each other. Like I'll give some examples. Sometimes you get to the extremes of the political spectrum and they're all anti-vax. You've got on the right the hardcore anti-government anti-vaxxers. And you've got on the left, the hardcore anti-big corporation, big pharma anti-vaxxers. And so they've gotten to the position in a very different way. But they end up being anti-vaxxers. Or anti-Semitism is another example. You go to the far, far right and the far, far left, you find anti-Semitism. The flavor of it is a little different. The tone of it is a little different, but it's an example of how the horseshoe theory sort of works. In MAGA world, it's a little less of a horseshoe and more of like a feeding frenzy, because whether it's far right conspiracy theorists or far left fringe agitators that do not in any way represent the Democratic Party, the dynamics become purity tests, turf wars, who gets access, who gets to say, I represent the movement. And eventually it can become a civil war. And so what we're seeing here with Marjorie Taylor Greene, I know there are people saying, oh, it's principled. She's very principled. Yeah, in some kind of loose sense, these people have principles they at least claim to abide by or adhere to. But it's really a grifter on grifter crime wave. Crime in DC is down. It's grifter on grifter crime that is up. Green's attacking Loomer and Green's attacking Mark Levin. It is about territory. And she is increasingly on the outs with Trump. She's not getting attention. She's starting to do sort of like nominally left-wing shows and seeing what sort of attention she can get. They've built a movement that is devouring itself from the inside. And that is a lot of what is motivating Marjorie Taylor Greene here.